Hey everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for checking out this kind of overview slash unboxing episode. Today we are going to go through our Final Fantasy XIV stuff, and mostly because the second big expansion to Final Fantasy XIV is coming out in I think 2 weeks, so late June it's
Nice.
coming out. I'm kind of looking forward to it, although I'm not caught up in the previous
Yeah.
expansion, so
Yeah.
we got to burn through that. But yeah,
Right.
I'm looking forward to that. So I'm Mike,
I'm Michelle.
and to get started, I think we should just go through our MMO stuff. We are not big MMO players
It's true,
at
yeah.
all. Don't expect. I haven't played WoW, right? You
No,
played?
yeah, I
Did you?
never.
Yeah,
I guess my intro to MMOs was EverQuest.
yeah. Same here.
I played a lot of it. I really got into it in college. And then after graduating, like you get a job and you don't have time for them anymore.
Yeah. So EverQuest really interested me at the time. We would play not together because we didn't have two strong enough computers to handle it
it's
back
true.
then. So we would take turns playing different accounts.
Yeah.
And or rather two characters on the same account, which saved us a little bit of money anyway. And we even tried playing EverQuest Online Adventures for the PS2. Remember, we bought the hard drive for that, and that was garbage. But yeah, EverQuest was a big one. We put a fair amount of time into EverQuest, but not that much. And I don't get into MMOs for the reason that I just don't have the time, and it's not like everyone says they don't have the time for the game. If you love a game, you'll make the time for it. But in truth,
Yeah.
I love other games way more, right? I would rather play 100 single-player games than have to put in thousands of hours of MMOs. And I'm not a very community-based player,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like that's it. When you get to the point where you can't really single play it anymore, you have to like get the parties together, do a quest. Then I find I just don't have time to like commit to a group.
Same here.
Like I don't have time to be like I'll be online this time to this time, and I just feel like I can't commit to the group, and I feel like it's hard to have an interest in the game then when you can't do the big quests.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, because I could put in hundreds of hours. I could, like, Persona's going to take 120 hours. I could put that in, but I couldn't put it in at the time that people would want me to put it in, right?
Yeah.
Life is too busy for that for me anyway. So, but then we played some Final Fantasy XI together, right? And that was one that I played on the PS2 originally, and you played it on PC. And I believe then later we played it on Xbox. I got the Xbox 360 version. I played that. And I kind of like that game. Like I do like Final Fantasy XI, except it was designed in the complete opposite way that we're talking about.
Right.
It was not designed to be soloed. You got your ass kicked right early on. You could not go anywhere without being a team player.
I guess that's kind of why I got really into MapleStory for a while, is because like that one I could solo for quite a while, and I really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed like the special events they had, the seasonal the seasonal events. I found like kept me interested, even though some of the missions and some of the quests got a bit repetitive. Like you were really grinding a lot, but every now and then they'd have like a special event and it would get you interested again for a while.
Yeah.
But eventually, your interest does like die off a little bit.
We played a couple of those like free Korean MMOs they got better and better as they went along. But same thing, I just got tied up with single player games.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson for those who weren't around for the launch of Final Fantasy XIV, because the whole Final Fantasy XIV saga is just a really wild ride. It's a really interesting story. The game was being developed as a follow-up to their previous MMO, Final Fantasy XI, and they wanted to compete with WoW, because at the time WoW was just still doing great, and Final Fantasy XI was a very different experience from WoW. So they were really going to go after WoW and try to build something that would be as popular. They announced it for PS3 and for PC. Xbox 360, there was no version ever announced, which is funny because, well, they say the reason is that Microsoft wouldn't allow them to kind of play nice with Xbox Live, right? Microsoft has Xbox Live as an online service, and they wouldn't let Square do their own thing, which they needed to do to run an MMO, which I just think is hilarious because, 360 was the system that had Final Fantasy XI, not PS3. And they did sidestep Xbox Live to get that going. So I don't know if it was a security risk that they discovered later or something, but for the most part, Microsoft just said no. So the PC version came out on September 30th, 2010. The PS3 version was supposed to launch at the same time, but it didn't. It was delayed. And this is the collector's edition version we got, which I think came out a week earlier. Again, I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy. I love collecting Final Fantasy stuff, so I needed the collector's edition. There is a super nice big box with some mono art on it.
Yeah.
Inside we have... Oh, let's see, there's a slipcase here that says what everything is. So, first up, the game itself. There is a making of disc, which I watched recently just to remind myself of what was on it, and it was actually pretty bare bones. And the game disc itself, the making of disc is actually pretty funny because they're so like excited about the game going to be coming out. They're like, we tried so hard, we made such an amazing game, you're gonna love it. And well, we'll get to what happens soon. There's one of these key fobs, which is, or security token if you want to call it, which basically, you know, lets you log into the game more securely. People are always worried about accounts getting stolen and stuff, so that lets that happen. We never used it. And there is a journal, which is, I think, all blank. Yeah, where you're just supposed to record your MMO findings, which is kind of a nice touch. But according to the back of this thing, you also get a buddy pass, which you can invite a friend to play for 30 days, which I probably gave to you. An in-game item, the onion helm, and a rite of passage voucher, which it looks like you had to apply, like, mail in something from here to get these, which is a shame because I wish I had done that. As a collector, I wish I had that, but whatever. It's such a minor thing.
I'm surprised that you didn't.
How would you know what would happen? Oh, it looks like this little journal does have a couple pages of concept art.
Oh, we don't see
I didn't see. Oh, it's all at the back. Or there's like a map up front. And in the back there are a couple pages of art. So a couple neat things in there. So we were excited to play this. I remember we were super hyped. We were finally going to get to play an MMO together. You know, I was going to play the PS3 version. You were going to play PC.
And also excited just to like get in at the start of an MMO so that you're at the same level as everyone else. You don't have like that thing where you're a newbie and everyone else is so strong. It's that discouragement. Like we were excited to start fresh.
Yeah, and the we were gonna but even after the PS3 version was delayed, we were still committed. We got the I set up this version on my laptop and got it running, and I was surprised. My laptop was severely underpowered, but it worked. You know, it worked well enough, and we tried to install it on the PC that we have that's super powerful at the time. Anyway, it should have been able to handle it, but it just crashed every time, and it started my hate relationship with ATI. I can't stand AMD processors and graphic cards, and I recently went back on that and I bought a laptop that has both, and I've had nothing but problems with it. So lesson learned. Again, I don't think that case necessarily, like, we upgraded the graphics card. I remember we had to buy a GeForce to play this game, and then we had to buy a new fan and a new power supply because none of that, like, it's the most work I've ever done on a computer box in my life. Anyway, I don't think that was necessarily ATI's fault because this game got smoked right off the gate. Critically, it did terribly. The reviews were just all negative. People said like it's a good looking game and had some interesting ideas and had potential, but it just ran terribly. So many performance issues. The UX was garbage. Like, people were really upset by it. So much so that, like, for the first time, I've never seen this before, Square actually came out and said, you know, hey, here's an extra 60 days of free play until we get the game up and running a bit more. And then after that 60 days were up, they came out with, you know what, until we fix it, we're suspending fees. So no one paid fees for, I think it was like the first year. So then after that, Square put out a letter that basically said, we're replacing the development team. Most of the team, the producer, all these people are being replaced, and we're going to try and get you a good game out soon. And after that, we'll start the fees again, but thank you for sticking with us, and thanks for understanding. And I don't think I've ever seen a company, very rarely do you see a company go to that level of sincerity with their product, because it was doing bad.
Do like that big of like a public apology? And I feel like it's like you can respect it. Like, they clearly respect their fans. They want to like maintain that relationship. So. Well,
it's such a big investment. It's not like when one Final Fantasy bombs, oh well, on to the next one. It's like this was their WoW killer. They probably poured more money into this than any other single Final Fantasy game, and it failed. Like, that could have shut down the company. Well, you know, like the Final Fantasy movie or something crazy like that. So this is the only version of the original Final Fantasy XIV we got. The PlayStation 3 version was completely canceled. The team basically said, we can't fix this. They put out a bunch of new content to kind of wrap up the storyline, and then they started working on the next version and needed to replace this one completely. So the team went to work on a Final Fantasy XIV reboot. The ideas were to make it a little more like WoW, but also to make it accessible to solo players for longer and to make it just the smoothest, most not complex idea ever. Because, like I said, the UI in the original one really turned off a lot of people, all the performance issues. So they wanted to smooth all that over, and they just wanted to make a solid experience, and they went to work on that. And like we said before, they put out a bunch of new content to lead up to the game. So to kind of finish off, they kind of had to stop with the storyline they had planned and instead write an end to that original storyline.
Right.
So just to show you like how quick they burned through stuff, November 1st, 2011 was when the last patch came out that had like the last quest, the last boss fight. And then on November 11th, so just 10 days later, the servers went down.
Oh, wow.
So the game was done. All of that content is gone. I mean, you can still watch some YouTube videos, but that story that takes place in what they call the 7th Umbral era is just, now it's done. So, yeah. So then the team launched Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn.
I think it's a fitting title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for PlayStation 3 and PC, again, everything is new. It's a whole new game. And seemed promising at the time, except launch week, all the servers are down. Like, they didn't anticipate the capacity for it. They had,
which is so weird. Like, you'd think they would have had an idea from the launch of the original what to expect.
Yeah, but I don't know if they just hyped it up so much and like a lot of people got excited or something weren't excited for this one. But so PC and PS3 version both came out on the same date, and the servers were smoked, and Square had to send in another apology, extend people's trials by another 7 days or something while they got their servers sorted out, ran up a bunch of new servers. Just, crazy stuff, and what almost would have been a death knell after this disaster. Speaking of this, so what they did that was really cool was people that stuck with this game. So eventually these people were charged fees again. But they had like this legacy plan in place where they could move their characters over to the new game. And what would happen was, they got locked into this legacy price fee. So the online subscription for this game was $15 a month US, and this one was only $9.99. So they basically said from now on, all of these players can now play the new game at $9.99 forever. So that's, something nice anyway.
Yeah.
And I think they were in the credits of this game, so I wonder how many people really stuck around that long.
Yeah. I feel like it's all like for them, like if you stuck around like for quite a while after everyone else quit, it's almost like a badge of honor to finish the game, just so you could be in the credits. You can say like, I stuck with it.
I'm kind of jealous I didn't get to the end of it, although my computer probably wouldn't let me. Regardless of, I don't know how stable they made it. Anyway, Realm Reborn came out. We got the PS3 one. The collector's edition comes with a ton of stuff. So first up, a really nice hardcover art book. Well, the art book itself is nice. It's about 75 pages, but the art that's in it is actually really like, it's a lot of character designs on white backgrounds, right? Which is like cool, but at the same time it's not.
Yeah.
You can tell they're saving the good stuff for the art book that's going to be for sale.
Which I guess is understandable. You still get some nice pieces, but yeah.
It's just a disjointed experience, if you ask me. A new
security fob.
Realm Reborn themed security fob, which at this point I never activated because they have an app now that does that. Maybe they always did. The game itself, which also comes with The Waning of the Sixth Sun, which I believe is a disc that contains a little bit of making of stuff, maybe some cutscenes, trailers. Our 60-day card for the collection. A series of art prints. That one was some Magitech armor. Bahamut, which we'll get to. He has an important role. Just a couple cool things. And the CD soundtrack, which only has 6 tracks. So, back to Bahamut. The story in this game, I love it. At the end of the 7th Umbral era, Bahamut, who's been trapped in some lunar eclipse, breaks free, destroys the continent. Everything on the continent just blasted. No more cities, no more towns, everything's just...
A nice way to wipe out the previous game's mistakes.
Yeah. We are sorry. We are sorry for this. It didn't happen. Somehow, magically...
Cleansed in fire.
Yeah. Somehow, magically, all the players jump ahead in time 5 years, so they're still around, but now they're in the new world, which is completely different.
Yeah. Is it the 8th Umbral era?
No, so now it's the 7th Astral era.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So yeah. We played a bunch of this. I had a ton of fun with this.
It was fun. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was good for, like, not casual things, but it was easy to get into. And it was easy to, like you didn't get, you could go far, single player, like, 2-person parties. Like, it was fun. Like,
yeah.
It was challenging, but not too challenging that you lost interest.
It was my favorite MMO. And granted, I've only played like 3 or 4, so I can't really, but I had a ton of fun with it. It had a lot more kind of hooks to Final Fantasy. It felt a lot like a way smoother play experience. The combat felt a lot smoother. It didn't crash like the original did.
Yeah.
Worked with my graphics card, which is a good plus.
Yeah, we
had a ton of fun with this. Eventually, they released it for PS4, which I believe I have here. It's sealed because you could just move your player over from PS3. So PS4 also came with a special edition, which is exactly the same as this one, so I didn't bother double dipping on that. But yeah, I like that it moved up eventually, because like the Final Fantasy XI was stuck on PS2. I think there was a way through some kind of emulation. If you had the original backwards compatible PS3, I think there was a way to run it on that PS3, but that's a whole other story.
Right, yeah.
So Square supported this one pretty well, and I think there were 5 kind of major content updates that added new quests to the game, and added some more stuff to the story. And after those 5 updates, they put out their first major expansion. So on June 23rd, 2015, we got Heveansward, if that's how you say it. Heveansward. And this is the collector's edition that came out for that. This was available for PS4 and PC, and I don't know if it was also available for PS3, but it may have been in this collector's edition anyway. The expansion basically doubled the amount of content that was in the original game, and they added a new race and a new class, and it also released on Mac for the first time, so Mac players can now get in on it, which I think there was a lot of Mac players on for WoW, so it makes sense, right?
It does make sense.
So let's go through the special edition. Crack it open. This one is a little more heftier than our previous ones, although there's not too much in there, actually. So the big thing that comes with this collection is this figure. I'll crack this open and take some pictures of it and put them in here so you can see that a little more up closely. There's also this disc that I think contained... What is this disc called? Final Fantasy XIV Online. I think this just contained trailers and some cutscenes from the previous game.
Oh, okay.
Yep, the game itself. And finally, the Art of Heveansward art book. This one already way nicer than the previous one.
Really nice. Put a lot more work into this one. You still get some characters on white backgrounds, but
they're nicer.
Yeah. Surprisingly, no soundtrack, but I guess because you get the figure.
Yeah. Well, I think they're taking like less and less as the collectors come out. These collector's editions are exclusive to the Square Enix store, which for us is very expensive with the US exchange rate. It's already too expensive as is. By the time you add on the exchange rate and the shipping, it's actually, I don't know why I would spend this much on it.
Plus, I feel like when you get
investment,
items that come from Square Enix are almost always like they're handled so roughly when they're delivered too. Like you also have that it's going to be damaged. But you still, as a fan, you just have to swallow the pill and order it.
Get what you can get, right?
Yeah.
So the newer one is even more expensive, and I think features even less stuff. And again, this is a cool statue, but it's actually this is a pretty big box for this little statue, and this is a big box. And by the time you get a couple of these going, I collect other things. I need this and all the recent Final Fantasy stuff with this and the 15 collection and the new upcoming Zodiac Age 12 is that's a whole shelf on its own.
Yeah.
So whatever. I guess I can't complain about getting too much in a box, but pack it better. So anyway, So thanks for checking out this episode. Like we said, we're doing this because Stormblood is coming out next. I'm excited about Stormblood. We're going to get into that. We have that collector's edition coming, so we will unbox that separately.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking us out.